Every time a groundhog climbs out to eat, it leaves the safest place it has. At dawn, one waddles toward a vegetable bed. Then, it freezes. A shovel is moving toward its burrow. Its food is above ground. Its safety is below it. To us, the hole is yard damage. To the groundhog, it is home. So how do you survive when the one place keeping you alive is exactly what someone else wants gone? That is the trap of being a groundhog. Because that same hole may be its front door, its escape route, its nursery, and the bunker that gets it through winter. Same hole, completely different stakes. Above ground, groundhogs look almost comical. Round body, short legs, tiny ears. They waddle around as if they were designed in a hurry. But the joke wears off fast when one moves in beside a garden, a fence, or a shed. So why would an animal build its whole life around a hole humans keep trying to close? Because from a groundhog's point of view, a vegetable garden beside a shed can be nearly perfect. Food is close. Dry shelter is even closer. If something goes wrong, the groundhog can disappear in seconds. That does not make the damage imaginary. Groundhogs eat vegetables, they dig under barriers, they leave piles of dirt and openings exactly where people do not want them. If you spent months growing lettuce and beans, you probably would not enjoy watching a furry stranger turn the garden into an all-you-can-eat buffet. The frustration is fair. But the groundhog is not being reckless. It has found a place where dinner and safety sit only a few steps apart. To understand why that matters so much, look at the animal itself. Groundhogs are also called woodchucks. In some places, people call them whistle pigs because they can let out a sharp whistle when alarmed. They are not gophers. They are large ground squirrels with powerful front claws and strong jaws, and they are far more athletic than their shape suggests. They can climb trees, they can swim, when they need to move, they can move surprisingly fast. But digging is the skill their whole life depends on. From the surface, a burrow may look like one dark opening with a heap of fresh dirt beside it. Underground, that opening can lead to an entire network. There may be a main entrance, side tunnels, resting chambers, and even a separate area used for waste. Some tunnel systems stretch around 45 feet through the soil, roughly the length of a school bus. And one burrow can have anywhere from 2 to 10 entrances. Why would one animal need that many ways out? Because danger does not always arrive from the same direction. If a dog charges across the lawn, or a predator appears near the main entrance, another opening may be the only safe route home. The burrow also shelters the groundhog from bad weather and gives it somewhere to sleep. It puts solid earth between the groundhog and whatever is chasing it. That matters because eating is dangerous. A groundhog can sprint when it has to, but every mouthful of grass, clover, fruit, or vegetables keeps it exposed a little longer. A home far from dinner would make every trip riskier. So groundhogs often dig where open feeding space meets cover, along fence lines, under porches, beside sheds, and at the edge of gardens. The groundhog is not trying to ruin the landscaping, it is doing the safest math it can. And for a female groundhog in spring, that calculation gets harder. Her burrow may also be a nursery. A litter usually has 2 to 6 young. They arrive blind, hairless, and completely helpless. For their first 5 or 6 weeks, they depend on their mother and the shelter of the burrow. The darkness keeps them out of sight. The soil protects them from weather. Extra exits give the mother another route if danger appears near the main entrance. This is the part you cannot see when you are standing above the hole with a shovel. The tunnel might be empty, or there may be young inside that cannot leave on their own. That does not mean every groundhog burrow should stay exactly where it is. Groundhogs can strip a garden, dig under a fence, and create real trouble near a shed, wall, pond bank, livestock area, or foundation. Sometimes the location really does need attention. But before anyone closes an entrance, it helps to know whether the burrow is active, what time of year it is, and whether an animal could still be inside. Then summer starts running out, and eating becomes urgent. Most of a groundhog's diet is plant material. Grasses, clover, leaves, flowers, fruit, and whatever happens to be growing in the garden. It may occasionally eat insects, eggs, or other small prey, but plants make up most of the menu. When a groundhog finds easy food near its burrow, there is no reason to visit only once. It may clip greens close to the soil, bite into soft produce, and come back the next day to see what is left. So why keep returning and risk being seen? Because every easy meal becomes winter fuel. Groundhogs are true hibernators. They do not simply hide underground and sleep a little more. their bodies slow down to an almost unbelievable degree. A groundhog's heart rate can fall from around 80 beats a minute to just 4 or 5. Its body temperature can drop from about 98 degrees Fahrenheit to around 38. That is not an ordinary nap. It is a body running on the lowest setting it can survive. And there is no handy refrigerator waiting in the burrow. Before hibernation begins, the groundhog has to store enough body fat to carry it through months with little or no feeding. That changes the meaning of every trip above ground. A patch of clover, fallen fruit, or a row of lettuce can all be worth the risk. A round groundhog in late summer is not failing at portion control. It is building the fuel supply that may keep it alive until spring. This is where the Groundhog Day version of the animal starts to fall apart. The famous groundhog gets pulled into the spotlight and asked to predict the weather. The real one has spent the coldest part of the year underground, barely breathing, while living off energy it stored months earlier. If it makes it to spring, the whole cycle starts again. It has to find food, stay near cover, and keep the burrow usable. At the same time, it must avoid predators, dogs, vehicles, lawn equipment, traps, and people who want the entrance gone. If it is breeding season, it may also be raising helpless young in that same underground system. For an animal that looks relaxed while chewing clover, the schedule is brutal. Its best defense creates its biggest conflict. Near food makes sense. Under cover makes sense. The problem is that a vegetable bed beside your shed offers both. There is an odd afterlife to all this digging, too. When a groundhog leaves a burrow for good, the tunnel may keep being useful. Other wildlife can use it for shelter, escape, or denning, depending on the species and the location. The digging also moves and loosens soil, so a burrow can damage a garden today and shelter another animal later. Nature is inconvenient like that. What should you do when that inconvenience lands in your yard? Start with the location. A burrow at the far edge of a lawn is not the same problem as one running beneath a porch, wall, shed, or foundation. Then, look for signs that it is active. Fresh soil, worn entrance edges, clipped plants, tracks, or repeated sightings. Time of day can fool you. Groundhogs are often active in the morning and evening, so a quiet entrance at noon does not prove that nobody is home. The season matters too. There may be young underground in spring. Later in the year, the animal may be getting ready to hibernate. If the tunnel runs under a structure, if an animal may be trapped, or if removal is on the table, call local wildlife services or a licensed professional. The rules and recommended methods vary by region, and this is a bad place to guess. For gardens, a solid fence beats fighting the same groundhog every morning. It has to discourage climbing as well as digging, and if the burrow is not creating a genuine safety or structural problem, observation is often a useful first step. Watch from a distance. Take a photo. Confirm that the animal is actually a groundhog and that the entrance is active. The animal you see for a few seconds above ground is following a plan that lasts all year. It stays close enough to food to build the fat it needs, but close enough to shelter to vanish when danger appears. Sometimes it is protecting young that cannot protect themselves. Eventually, it has to trust the same tunnel to carry it through winter. Now go back to that morning beside the vegetable bed. The groundhog sees the shovel and turns toward the entrance. To the person holding it, the hole still looks like damage. That part is real. But to the groundhog, it is the fastest way out of danger. It may be where its young are hidden. In winter, it becomes the shelter its slowed-down body depends on. To eat, the groundhog has to leave safety. To survive, it has to dig, and the better it gets at staying alive, the more likely it is to become somebody else's problem. That is what makes being born a groundhog such a rough deal.